Welcome, NBA Tip-Off, Thursday edition, Thursday, September 10th, and we are live as we are every Monday through Friday, every weekday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on WagerTalk TV, talking a little NBA action. Of course, we've got NFL, college football, Major League Baseball. I guess there's hockey tonight. There's actually a NASCAR Truck Series race, so we've got 6 major sports going, guys, in the month of September. So I guess it's a good thing that there's only one NBA game tonight. We'll make it a little light on the NBA card. But I am your host, Steve Merrill, joined by Teddy Covers, Rob Vino, Tony Finn, and we're all found, of course, at WagerTalk.com. Got Ash, always the first one in the chat room. We appreciate the loyal viewership there from all of our loyal viewers, up to 200-300 viewers live each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And then, of course, archived afterwards. Teddy, let me throw it to you first. So what were your takeaways on Thursday night? Toronto Raptors found a way to survive, my man, and force a Game 7.
I mean, let's give the Raptors a ton of credit. You know, they were pushed to the limit last night, and everybody, it wasn't just one guy for Toronto, everybody stepped up. I mean, Norm Powell was a monster. Lowry was a monster. Van Vliet was a monster. Gasol was out of the three-point line draining him. Ibaka was out of the three-point line draining him. I mean, there literally the only guy for Toronto that didn't have a great game was Siakam. And Siakam did he didn't have a great game offensively. He did a bunch of things that don't show up in the box score to help his team win. And with that, it took 2 overtimes to get past the Celtics. It really wasn't one of those games. And I see Jay Ross talking, the refs really wanted a Game 7. Maybe they did. In the 58 minutes of basketball, the Boston Celtics were aggressive. They weren't standing out to jacking up the threes from the perimeter. They were taking the ball a hole. In those 58 minutes of basketball, the Celtics got to the free throw line a total of 18 times. It certainly was a difference. In my mind, it was a difference in the game. I'm not convinced that we see the refs swallow their whistles again in Game 7.
Yeah, and Rob, I heard you laughing with the Gasol hitting some three-pointers. What was your thought on the game overall?
Yeah, I mean, statistically, guys, across the board, Toronto wasn't any better than Boston. They were basically even, as double overtime would indicate. I think, the last minute, the last minute and a half of the fourth quarter where there were multiple opportunities, missed layup for sure by Kemba Walker when he got all the way to the rim for Boston. Nick Nurse standing on the sidelines as if he was a Celtic player and getting Jason Tatum to throw it out of bounds. And then Toronto missed a couple on the other end too. But Norman Powell is a guy we mentioned before, and he came up big last night. Made a couple of huge shots. And then, of course, back and forth in overtime. So, hey, listen, yesterday we had said, even though Boston looked like the better team, if Toronto makes shots, there's no question, even without Ibaka, if they had to have been without him, they could win that game. And yesterday, 3-point-wise, guys, was their best game of all, 19 of 47, 40.4%. So Toronto shot. I agree kind of with what Teddy said. Everything Toronto did to win that game, and still it was like pulling teeth to get that game. So perhaps Boston still is the best team. I see the opener, or at least the current now, at Boston -2.5 for Game 7.
Yeah, and Tony, of course, it was 3.5 last night. They were a 2.5-point dog in the first couple games, 2.5-point dogs. So as I said yesterday, this reminds me a lot of that Utah-Denver series where the lower seed was a dog. They look like the better team, but they don't finish off the higher seed. And now all of a sudden, just like that Denver series, we have a Game 7. The Celtics have been, I thought, the better team in this series. Yet I'm a little reluctant here to play against the defending world champs in a Game 7 with maybe the better defense. So, what do you think, Tony?
Well, I mentioned it yesterday, and I think we all agreed that if Toronto won, we might feel a little bit different. I guess if we'd asked each other yesterday, hey, if Toronto happens to win Game 6, how's everyone going to feel about Boston in Game 7? It may not be any different today than it would have been yesterday because it was a closely contested game, and everything, all things being equal, everything for Boston is going just about like it's going for me right now. My microphone just fell off. I left my phone on.
That's all right.
It's just a wonderful. It's just good stuff here. I enjoyed the game, and again, I'm struggling with everything today. But I was going to mention that for I really never worried about that total. I was going to play this total heavy, and I was going to play it hard, and I just played it regular.
Talking
But
about
the
over.
fact
You're
that
talking about the over, correct?
the over, but the fact that Toronto doesn't score any points in the last 4.5 minutes of the first half speaks to what Boston's capable of, and Toronto was playing well. So it's pretty intriguing, and I'm sure we all have a lot to say about this and how we're going to approach that game on Friday.
Yeah, Ski, I mentioned yesterday that, hey, I hope Boston – I actually had the over, so a little bit fortunate win there with the first overtime cash and didn't need the second one. But, a very slow start there is why the over was in jeopardy. It did pick up a bit as the game went on. Ski, though, I mentioned yesterday, I'll be rooting for Boston to lose just so I can use them in Game 7. And then we all joked about, hey, we might feel differently, as Tony said, depending on how the Raptors play. But there again, if you look at the Raptors' 3 wins in this series – at the buzzer back, what was a Game 3, double overtime here, where they're trailing a good amount of the game. They never led in Game 5. Ski, did you see anything? And we'll talk more about this tomorrow, obviously, guys, but just your takeaway from Game 6, Ski, did you see something that makes you think all of a sudden Toronto is the better team in this series?
Well, when we started this series, I thought that overall Toronto was the better team. I know if you think about star power, Boston certainly has that, but I think overall Toronto has been my pick for the better team. So I think Game 7 is a toss-up, honestly, right now. I have to look more into it, but
yeah, we'll definitely get more into this. We actually do have 2 games on Friday. Another reason I'm kind of glad the Celtics lost is we have an extra game to talk about tomorrow, guys, because we only have one here on Thursday. So we'll spend a little time recapping the other game as well here, and then we'll get into the Rockets-Lakers as well. And by the way, I do have a free play in case I forget to mention it on the first half in the Rockets-Lakers game. That is my free play today at WagerTalk.com. So all the viewers out there, we got almost 100 already in the live chat, and everyone watching afterwards, I've got a free play in tonight's NBA game for you at WagerTalk.com. And, of course, we all have best bets as well. And, by the way, Rob Vino, the $11 handicapper for college football tonight at WagerTalk. Rob, that's normally a $25 play. You're giving it away for $11. Or I should say WagerTalk's giving it away for you for $11. And we'll get more into the promos. But, Tony, actually, Teddy, I'll go with you. We'll go in order here. Teddy, what were your thoughts on the late game Nuggets-Clippers? I know you and Tony had a back and forth yesterday. I was kind of more on your side of that, Teddy, that the Clippers had been outplayed in the last 2 games. But I think Tony, we agreed with you more than you realized or wanted to acknowledge that when the Clippers want to be the better team, they can flip a switch. And Teddy, we definitely saw them do that in the first quarter out of the gate. They carried that momentum from the fourth quarter the other night. What were your thoughts on that late game overall?
Well, certainly when you, the biggest thoughts for me come with the total of that game, because anytime a play cashes by 50 points, you want to be paying attention. And that was the case with the under last night. And we all talked on the show yesterday about, well, the Clips bring it sometimes and they kind of fall off. And then they bring it sometimes. And that was, we saw that on display last night. They dominated. They took control of that game. And then all of a sudden they looked a little lethargic and the Nuggets were back into it. But to me, the primary takeaway is I think the Clips have figured out Denver defensively, and that's probably bad news for the Nuggets moving forward.
Yeah, and Rob, we'll, of course, get into this game tomorrow on Friday when they play again for Game 4. But my big takeaway as well, Rob, was that the Nuggets had their chance, as we mentioned, Game 5, rather. That was Game 4. As we mentioned in the show yesterday, the Nuggets had their chance to go up 2-1 in Game 3, and they blew it. And I was not surprised to see them maybe come out a little flat. Or, Rob, do you think it was more the Clippers just coming out focused finally?
Yeah, and again, we throw around bring it, but I'll categorize it. It's defensively. The Clippers played miserable from an offensive standpoint last night. That was one of their worst shooting games of the playoffs, and they still won going away because defensively they decided it's time to play 48 minutes. And you saw Doc Rivers calling timeouts in the last 3 minutes of that game to get his guys over there when they gave up a couple baskets in a row and make sure that didn't happen anymore. So they had a serious intention last night to play 48 minutes of solid defense. And if they do that, they can score 96 and get away with it because they're that good defensively. There's not a single guy on that team aside from Kawhi that played good on the offensive end. And as a team, like I say, they only shot 41-3 and scored 96 points. So they weren't good from the three-point arc. They weren't good from anywhere, but they were great defensively. Denver had no answers. And perhaps if they want to do that again, you could see the same exact thing next game. But I would expect LA to be a little bit better offensively. But boy, the focus was on the defensive side of the floor last night.
Yeah, Tony, I mean, can they chew gum and walk at the same times? Can they be a great offensive team like they were in 1 and 3 when they shot 55 and 57%, and yet still be a shutdown defensive team? I mean, what do you attribute that poor offensive showing by the Clippers last night? We know they can play defense when they want to, as Rob said.
Well, you might call me crazy, and you might call me well, no, I know Teddy will call me crazy. I don't even say think he will. I stand by what I said yesterday. I think they do whatever they have. They just they're messing with Denver. They like Teddy said, they kind of let him sneak up behind him, tie it up, and as soon as he gets tied up, they do a couple things differently and create some turnovers, get some buckets, and the next thing you know, you turn around, they're back up by 10 points. And then Rob said it too. He said, they can score 96 and get away with it when they play defense like that. But I truly believe that they just do. But right now, I don't know who said it yesterday, but you were spot on. It's almost like it is. It's almost it's the next best thing to load management, and it doesn't. A lot of times, I don't think they're even look like they're trying. Clippers. It doesn't look like they have a bunch of energy. It doesn't look like care a whole bunch. They did show some passion yesterday, but for the most part, I think part of why some of the panel here thinks that they are about outplayed is because I think emotion-wise, maybe Denver's been very passionate. They've tried. They're doing the best they can. They're outgunned defensively. They can't. They're younger. Porter. I love Porter's comments yesterday after the game. I don't know if you guys saw them, but that was rookie comment stuff that he heard about it after it was all over because he basically, and I like that. Don't you guys like that? He put himself in the same category as Murray and
but Tony, let the viewers know exactly what he said.
What he said was, if you didn't hear, he said basically they asked him, you scored 15 points in the first half, you had nothing in the second half. What do you attribute it to? Was he attributed to your cutting, not getting open? And he basically, were they doing anything differently? He's eating too. I love this. He's snacking on something. He's got his backpack on. He's hunched over like Finn during the NBA tip-off show. And he said, no, they didn't do anything different. I just didn't get the ball. And then he did give credit where credit's due to Murray and Jokic and say, these guys are all, basically all world and they're stars and they should be getting the ball. However, we can't beat this team unless the ball is spread out, that everyone contributes. And I think we need to do a better job of that. The play calling, he essentially said, play calling's not on me. It's on the coaches. They called plays for those two guys. And you could tell the posture, if you guys saw it, you could tell the posture was, he was disappointed. He was unhappy. And this is what as being the cordial and polite and politically correct guy, I would have said, listen, bitch, you learn to play some defense and I'll get you the ball. That's what I would have said to him.
Yeah, Ski, I don't feel like the Nuggets are going to come back from the 3-1 deficit in this series. Being the LA guy, being the Laker fan you are with the jersey on tonight, what are your takeaways on the Clippers overhaul? Is they're likely to meet your LA Lakers next week?
They can turn it on and off when they want, pretty much. And, I mean, the biggest takeaway from the game was what Tony Finn was talking about. Because I don't think anybody like that. I think he probably lost fans. Teammate chemistry is down the drain. Everything. So I think the Nuggets probably have an even harder time. I think he gets the ball even less next game.
So, they definitely have a counteractive result, I think, of what he wanted. I think big picture takeaway, this is a team in turmoil. And once again, Tony, I think we agreed with you more than you realized yesterday. The Clippers can definitely flip the switch.
I disagree.
We were saying they had not flipped that switch and they were being outplayed because they were allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
That's where we were kind of all on the same page.
Well, I know. I would listen for the audience. I'll go ahead and audience. I'm going to be passionate about those things, and you don't want me to be anything else, or maybe you do, but I'm not going to be. So there it is.
I think this series is pretty much over. The odds reflect that as well in the future prices, but we'll get more into this, of course, on Friday. And viewers, we'll be back tomorrow on Fridays. We always are, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. In-depth analysis of Game 7, Raptors Celtics tomorrow. Also, deep analysis of Clippers Nuggets Game 5, and then we'll also have a bonus look at Game 5 for the Rockets-Lakers series this weekend, which will be on Saturday since there's no weekend show. Don't forget, MLB First Pitch is right before. It's at 2 Eastern. There's also bonus episodes at noon Eastern. So if you're looking for some extra TV shows, even with football this weekend, MLB First Pitch will still be on at 12 noon, 9 a.m. Pacific this weekend. Tony and I will be making some quick cameos on those shows as well. We're going to have some quick hits on those. We got some time, though, to talk about the Rockets-Lakers tonight because it's the only NBA game in town. Before we get to it, though, Teddy Covers, you've been red hot all season, all restart in the NBA. What have you got going for Thursday night at WagerTalk.com?
I got nothing tonight. I do, however, have play posted for tomorrow night already in the NBA, and I got college football and NFL up for the weekend. You can get all that right now at either WagerTalk or SportsMemo.com.
And once again, it's a great reason to have a direct subscription. Once Teddy posts once any of us post something on WagerTalk.com, you get alerted right away. You get in before the line moves, as it often does. Rob Vino, I mentioned earlier that you're the $11 handicapper, a $25 best bet for college football for less than half price, just $11 tonight, Rob, at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Along with NFL, there's a couple of NFL plays up already, one being a 5%er. So you can get football up at WagerTalk.com right now. I will play in the NBA, as Teddy said, for tomorrow night, later today. So we'll have NBA up there. Just give us a chance to get the show done and get off, and then you'll have your shot at NBA up there.
Awesome. And even though Teddy and Rob might be passing tonight's game, we're going to get to some in-depth analysis and thoughts in a moment. And once again, I do have a free play on the first half tonight between the Rockets and Clippers on Wager Talk. Tony, what are you looking at? You've been just fantastic all season. I was looking at some numbers last night. I think you were the number one football handicapper. Was it NFL or college combined? You're hitting like over 60% in so many different sports. I lose track, Tony Finn.
Well, thank you. What do I think about? Listen, I have a position on tonight's game. I'm taking a position, and I'll go ahead and share some of my thoughts, and it probably gives away my play, but so be it. And that is, I want to hear your guys' opinion more than I want to hear myself talk, and that's that. Do you believe, do you see that the Lakers being a game behind the Clippers, watching the Clippers, knowing that, or at least believing, and we believe as well, that it's going to be a Clippers-Lakers finals in the West. Do you think the Lakers want to end this? Do you think they're going to come out serious, or are they going to pull one of the same stunts that they've pulled? If you thought the Clippers were being outplayed or not caring, I would have to say I would think the Lakers have kind of emulated that too. Losing game one in their first series, et cetera, et cetera. I have a position here. I think the Lakers do come out serious. I think they come out and make a statement. I think I like the new – listen, I'm not a huge Vogel fan, guys, but he's done some adjustments. He's made some lineup adjustments that has given them some pseudo third option when he's changed out the center position. He's gone smaller. He's done some things that I had not seen him do during the season. Not that he has to, because there's not a bunch of Houstons out there, but I don't remember him doing that against Houston when they traded Capella and then brought Covington in and schooled the Lakers a couple times. So
yeah, Ski, let me throw it over to you because you're our Laker fan, you're our resident LA guy. What are your thoughts on the Lakers' mindset here heading into the game tonight, into Game 4? There are several games behind these other series, as we've talked about. So there is some incentive, as Tony said, to maybe get this done a little sooner now that the Clippers look like they might be done after tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking about something else. I do have a best bet. Everybody say what they have at Wager Talk. I have a best bet in the WNBA.
Yeah, I was going to ask you after this because I figured you might have some WNBA. But, so Ski's got WNBA. He's been doing extremely well in that, hitting over 60% of that as well this season. He's our resident WNBA expert here on the panel, but also our Laker expert. So that's why I'm curious to see your thoughts on the team in general. And then we'll kind of go around the horn a few times here, guys, and have some quick hits and keep coming back to it. But what do you think, Ski? What is their mindset after back-to-back wins, in your opinion?
I don't think they let up. I think what Tony Finn said, I disagree. I don't think that they were just like the Clippers, like they want to turn it on and off. I think that the Lakers just generally don't do well off long layoffs. And I think we've seen it time and time again this whole season. So that's what I think about that. And as far as Frank Vogel's adjustments, I think he makes them fine game to game. But during the games, I don't think he adjusts too much. And I think the Lakers come in here focused. I agree with Tony Finn on that.
And Ski once again has a WNBA best bet. And I wanted to ask you, Ski, while I had you also, how has the WNBA been going so far in comparison to the NBA the last couple of weeks? Similar? Anything really different that you've noticed from I guess from a handicap and flow perspective?
A lot more injuries than I'm used to, and I think they're just not used to playing this much or this often. So that's what I noticed the most.
And I will say this, and I got to be careful how I phrase this because people are going to probably jump on me, but there has been studies over the years, a lot of like college female. My sister blew out her knee, and it's a college soccer player. That's why I know this stuff. But there is some stuff about females getting hurt more, like at the college level and stuff. There's been studies on that basketball and soccer over the decades. So that's interesting, Ski, that's happening, and it might not be a total coincidence because, hey, breaking news, men and women are different, So I know nowadays you have to be careful how you phrase that, of course, with the politically correct culture. But Tony Finn is definitely not a politically correct guy. Hey, we got TJ asking a question. I'm going to throw this to myself real quick. He's asking about legalized sports betting. 5 dimes leading the U.S. market. Teddy, I think you covered that the other day on Wager Talk today, so viewers can turn into that episode on, I believe, either Tuesday or Wednesday. Check the replay there. But here in Virginia, the General Assembly legalized it in their session at the end of March or end of February. All laws go into effect July 1st here in Virginia. So technically we do have legalized sports betting, but it's being run through the lottery. And being the brilliant government employees all they are, they've given until the end of September to come up with the rules and regulations for the application process. And then all the applications will be finalized by the end of December. So right when the NFL season is ending, we'll have legalized sports betting in Virginia. So it's on its way, but it's not here yet. Why not wait until the NFL season's over when you've had a 9-month heads up to get things rolling? But that's how the government bureaucrats roll. Teddy, let me get some more thoughts from you, though, in general about – actually, Teddy, what about the 5 dimes thing? You guys talked about that the other day, right?
Yeah, I mean, the 5 dimes is trying to get in the U.S. market. Bet Chris, who was one of the leading offshores, illegal, owners threatened with jail. Now they're trying to get – they've actually signed deals to get into the U.S. market. 5 dimes trying to do the same thing. But I'm not going to tout for any offshore sports books. But there are many of them out there, and plenty of them have been in business for 20 years plus. And just because 5 dimes is going down doesn't mean that you don't have outs or potential outs. There's still plenty of outs out there.
Yeah, and it's always important to have multiple lines just from a big picture perspective, obviously, as far as line value, and the fact the free play I used tonight, the first half line is 2 at some books, 2.5 at others. I mean, it's almost 50-50 split. There is no excuse if you're doing this serious as an investment that you don't get either 2 on the Lakers or 2.5 on the Rockets tonight. There's just no excuse because there's that many different options out there. And so when you're deciding on your offshore books, you obviously want to make sure they pay you. Ideally, you'd like to be using a legal U.S. book now that's available in 10, 15 states. But you also want to check the lines for several days, see how they vary. It does you no good to have 2 books that have the same lines on every game 90% of the time. You want what I call a sharp book and a square book if possible, and have a nice set of lines, get a 1-point difference as many times as possible. Teddy, speaking of this game tonight, I know you said you're not involved. How would you approach it, though, if you were looking at it? Did anything jump out on the side or total with the Lakers-Rockets game 4?
The only way I could play this game is Lakers, all right? And as I talked about, my strategy when it comes to NBA playoff series is prior to the series / after game 1, I want to pick the winner. And unless I see it as a zigzag series, a very competitive series, that's the team I'll be looking to back.
Yeah, and I think I was going to say, do you think they come out hard here after the 2 wins and having to come from behind after blowing that big lead?
Well, that's why I didn't play him tonight.
Yeah, exactly. That's uncertain for me too.
And to me, it honestly has more to do with the Rockets than it does with the Lakers. I agree with Tony's assessment. I agree with Ski's assessment. It's a Lakers game tonight. Lakers are supposed to show. We've seen them put good halves and now good games together. They got in a little bit of rhythm, then they got stopped, then they got a little bit of rhythm, and they got stopped, and now they're getting that rhythm again. All that said, the Rockets have not played well. Okay, they've not come close to playing well, and particularly in the fourth quarter. Last game, Houston was awful. They were just awful, and I don't think the Rockets are awful. So I think they have a better game in them than the one we just saw, and a better fourth quarter in them than the one we just saw. And if there's going to be one more close game in this series, it feels like it might well be tonight's game. So I lean LA, but I wasn't really that close to pulling the trigger on them because if there's a spot, tonight is Houston's spot.
Yeah, and Rob, I think Tony brought up a good point about them seeing the Clippers getting closer to close it out by tomorrow. Technically they should close it out tomorrow. They're a good size favorite once again in Game 5. I know you're not using this as a best bet, Rob, but what was your thought process when looking at this game?
Well, I like one of the points Tony made because I think we made it before the start of the last game, and that was that JaVale McGee had his minutes limited. Dwight Howard never got off the bench. And then last game, once again, JaVale McGee plays barely over 8.5 minutes. The Lakers have decided to go small with Anthony Davis as the center. And with that has come back-to-back games where LeBron and AD have combined for 62 points. With that has come back-to-back games where LA has shot 55 and 56% from the field. And if they're going to do that, then the Rockets will have to shoot incredibly well for 4 quarters because they shot lights out in the first half of last game and carried a lead into the third quarter. And then defensively, LA shut them down, and that was the end of that. So they're much like the Clippers in that regard. And in fact, if you read their quotes heading into this game, it's all about defense for the LA Lakers. I think that's why we've seen the total come down. On a lighter note, hey, the key to the game, if Austin Rivers plays better, he hasn't scored in the last 2 games. Austin Rivers has 0 points. So he, among the entire Houston bench, has not helped.
Yeah.
Russ and James Harden went crazy last game. They got no help. And not that they want help because they don't really give the ball up much. But still, I think if LA continues to go small and combat what Houston's game plan is with their small lineup, then they're going to be just fine. As long as they shoot it well, the last 2 games have showed me that with that lineup, they can shoot it well.
Yeah, and Tony, I know you kind of gave your thoughts here where you think the Lakers come out focused. What would be your devil's advocate? What would be your biggest concern? I guess for me, it's always the Rockets get hot from 3-point range. That's the real unpredictable nature of handicapping Houston, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's one. There's several concerning for me. I want to see. I'd like to see him use the lineup they used a little more because I think with Rondo in there, if I'm mistaken, I did the math and was looking at it, and it looked like they scored they were +8. I think they were +18. That second unit was +18 over the Rockets with Rondo at the point. And this goes back to what I kept preaching to Ski about when he was so high on these Lakers. They're the best, the best thing since sliced bread. They're going to win everything, and they're going to do it without breaking stride, without breaking sweat. And I said, when Rondo was hurt, I said, they have no one to handle the ball other than LeBron and Rondo. And Rondo's a big concern for me as far as offense goes. You let him shoot, like Teddy said. Just let Rondo shoot those 15-foot bricks. Just let him shoot those bricks. But they played well, and my concerns are vast. AD getting hurt or LeBron not having a good game, being off. If one of those two is off, the Rockets can win this. Not just win it, they can win it convincingly.
Yeah, Ski, as a Laker fan, I mean, what would be your biggest concern here? The Lakers, obviously, the better team, I think, in this series. We all agree on that. I mean, is it focus for you? Is that one of the big concerns?
I think they'll be focused, so that's not a concern. If I had to pick my biggest concern, it would be seeing a tweet, Anthony Davis heading to the locker room. That would be my
more
biggest
so than
concern,
LeBron heading to the locker
happens,
room. Which tweet would
all
you
bets
rather
are
see?
off. Nah, I'm more accustomed to seeing the AD headed to the locker room tweet.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one, if anything, that I'll be most worried about. But in this game, I mean, how much better do you want the Rockets to play? They shot 40% from 3. 40. They had less turnovers than the Lakers. The Rockets they're not playing well lately. 2-6 against the spread their last 8 games, and they may be tired. I mean, Rob talked about Austin Rivers, but they're only playing really without House in the lineup. They're only playing about 6 guys. And Austin Rivers, he only got 10 minutes, so I'm not counting him. And it was one other player only got 10 minutes. I'm not counting him either. And the Lakers bench is a lot better and deeper. So I think it's an advantage there. I think Anthony Davis and LeBron are fresher than Harden and Westbrook. And I think the bench will continue to outplay Houston's bench.
Yeah, Teddy, what are your thoughts?
I just want to jump in real quick because we've seen all this Austin Rivers, the ripping Austin Rivers. It is worth noting, Rondo was the difference in game 3. You agree? I mean, Rondo was a monster. He made all the plays. He ended up scoring 20 points, and Rondo was enormous. Rondo was +7 in his minutes.
Yeah.
Austin Rivers was +5 in his.
Yeah, and there's something to be said, Teddy, about these savvy NBA veterans. They maybe can't go a full 82 games anymore, but a guy like Rondo, I mean, at least me personally, I have no problem with having him in my lineup come postseason time.
Playoff Rondo.
15 or 20 minutes, yeah. By the way, did anybody have Marcus Smart triple-double last night? That probably had a nice little payoff as well. Of course, double overtimes always help that, and that was definitely part of that equation.
He's not this good a shooter, guys. He's just not. I'm amazed what he's done. Really, I am in the series. Amazing.
Yeah, I thought of you guys right away when I saw that triple-double score line. But then again, the 2 overtimes is why it happened. I think he had 11 and 10 on the rebounds and assists, but still was a fun little tidbit there. Rob, speaking of players, any play-on-play against guys jump out to you in this series? I mean, what's your take on Westbrook? We keep bringing him up every game. I mean, it's hard not to take the ball away from him. He could shoot 20% and still have over 22 points, though.
Yeah, for Houston, it's got to come from their big three, right? I mean, and Ski made a terrific point about last game. Danwell House was not available, and I don't know that he's available tonight. I didn't check before we came on, but if he's unavailable once again, it does shorten up the options that Houston has off of that bench. Jeff Green came off and scored 16 points, but Eric Gordon had a bad night the other night, only 10 points. And for Houston, it's got to come from those big three. I mean, outliers happen. I think Robert Covington had a nice night a couple of games ago. And like I say, Green had 16.5, but boy, oh boy, their big three has to get it done here. On the Lakers side, it's been somebody different the last couple of games. I mean, Teddy pointed out Rondo had 21 a couple of nights back or a couple of games back. And then I think in the other game, the most recently played game, the bench spread it out a little bit, or maybe it was vice versa. Maybe Rondo had 21 last game and they spread it out the game before. But they do have added players off the bench right now, especially if House is not available. House is, doesn't sound like a, big name, but it's very important to Houston to have those extra 3-point shooters out there. And real quick to Ski's point about the Rockets shooting 40%, I would say, guys, that when they only shoot 33s in a game, that's a disadvantage to Houston. They need to shoot 45 threes. Whether they're making them or not, the only way they win is if they knock down threes. And we've seen. I feel like in the series before, they averaged near 50 per game, and last game was down to 30. That could be a concerted effort on the Lakers' part to run them off the 3-point line for sure. But Houston's got to launch more than 33s tonight if they're going to win.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like an option team having to throw the ball all of a sudden in football. You can't change your stripes in the middle of the postseason. Teddy, what are you seeing on House there?
Yeah, just a quick injury update. House has been downgraded to doubtful Thursday against the Lakers.
I've heard it was because he violated I heard it was a COVID thing where he snuck out. That's what I heard.
The rumor
he didn't leak out.
He snuck the
COVID somebody
tester into his room.
Oh, really? Okay, well, that's even better. That's even a better story.
Yeah, he was getting tested, and he worked his game, and apparently it may hurt him and his team in the long run. But the House is downgraded to doubtful. Dion Waiters downgraded to doubtful. Robert Covington upgraded to probable. The 3 injury news situations for tonight.
So who thought 6-7 months ago we'd be handicapping if somebody snuck a medical tester into their room and they wouldn't be allowed to play because of it? The times we live in. Tom, let me throw it to you first. And I've got what are some play-on-play against guys for you in this game tonight? By the way, Westbrook was 22.5. Last game he was 21.5 to the under. He's now 23.5 over 40. Gordon, by the way, Rob, is 17.5 under 40. So Gordon's got a hefty number still, even though I do think he probably bounces back with a better performance. Tony, any play-on-play against guys for you?
Well, I'll say this. I'll say my first thought is that Houston's it's not quite there yet, but they're desperate. They're desperate now. So anything's a go. Everything's on. And when Westbrook started getting crazy, desperate, we all know he's going to start. I'm telling you, he's going to start talking to the cardboard figures in the crowd, and he's going to do some goofy stuff on the court. And it means he's going to take the ball to the rim. I think that's what Houston has to do more of if they want to be competitive and take some of the juice, take some of that energy out of the whatever bigs the Lakers have on the floor. I'd play Westbrook over.
Yeah, and Ski, I'm kind of leaning Harden over as well. It's 31.5, and it's juiced to the over, of course. But yeah, I mean, I'm not actually, even though I think Gordon bounces back, I'm not comfortable at 17.5. I really think it's going to be Harden and Westbrook, and they're going to live or die by how they play tonight, Ski.
Yeah, I hear talk about Westbrook and Harden, and it just makes me think about the most recent LeBron quote I heard. And he said, "Some people built for these moments, some people are not." And I think those are two guys that are not. If I'm playing this game on props for the Rocket side, I probably look towards PJ Tucker. I think you see him posted up in the corner, waiting on some 3-point shots, and I think he can hit 2 or more. His 3-point total is 1.5. That's one way I would look. And for the Lakers, Rondo, we talked about how well he's been playing, playoff Rondo. His assist total is only 6.5. He got 9, I think, the last 2 games. I think that's definitely doable. So I think those are the top 2 I like. And if I had to say one more, I probably would throw Kuzma in there too. Points.
Rondo's 10.5 to the under on points, by the way. So 6.5 is a good amount of assists. It really determines how many minutes he gets, obviously. That's the key there, is if he plays a good amount, he can get there, I think, like he said he did in the last game.
And I wanted to say one more thing really quick about what Rob commented about the threes that the Rockets need to shoot. That's very true. They need to shoot more if they have any chance to win, but these two teams are playing the slowest pace in the second round, and they can't get that many threes up if they're not playing that fast.
That's an excellent point, Ski. And the Rockets are now under in 5 of their last 6 playoff games, including everyone but one in this series. I actually had the under in Game 3 the other night, so we'll see what happens. Teddy, what's your thoughts on the pace?
Well, I mean, Gasol, 2 3-pointers last night. 2 3-pointers last night. Gasol, yeah.
Actually,
had shot a 3-pointer since all.
Teddy, don't even worry about this game. We got to
1890.
get to Rob Vino and his tweet of the night. Rob, let us know on your moment last night with the in-show wager.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Lou Williams is going to force me to have to sell my house here in Pennsylvania because I needed over 14.5 last night, and he's got 12. And late in the game, he drains the 3, and there's good old Zubats running around setting illegal screens that nullify the ticket right there. So he did not get over 14.5. That's 2 games. Tone, I won't leave the room. I think I'm going to come back with Lou Williams tomorrow as well. He got a lot of minutes last night, guys. He almost played 30 minutes in that game. So I'll probably try again. But boy, oh boy, one more, and I might be calling one of you to come pick me up.
And that shot that he hit with nothing but net.
Nothing but
net.
Oh, beautiful.
And to be honest, though, Rob,
Crazy.
did you ever see an official number on him? Because we did not have one on the show yesterday. And FanDuel, keep in mind, in the previous game was 14.5-ish. So I don't know if it was still 14, to be honest. I didn't actually see a number.
No, I actually did play it personally.
Oh, you did. You actually found a number.
14.5. And I
thought this was
went and got
Sawbucks
one,
only. I didn't realize it
and boy, oh
actually
boy,
personally was. I didn't realize it was an actual bankroll play for you. So now I feel even worse.
well, that's why it hurts so much more. I wouldn't
sure.
have taken to Twitter and included all of you guys in my misery had it just been for Sawbucks.
I thought it was an in-show wagers. Why you included this? So I didn't mind.
Well, we talked about it.
Exactly. So give me some in-show wagers, guys, in the final minutes we have left here for Rockets Lakers. I know Ski's chomping at the bit.
I'll list some off if Tony wants to pick.
Yeah, Tony. I'm sure Tony wasn't listening, though, so you might have to list them again.
All
Tony,
right.
pay attention here. Tell me if you want the other side of any or all, which is probably the most likely outcome.
Rondo over 6.5 assists. PJ Tucker over 1.5 3-pointers. Kuzma over 12.5 points. I'll take this one too. It's plus money. You might want this one, Tony fan.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis over 3.5 assists. That one's plus 127.
Yeah,
You get the under, Tony.
I get the under.
Yeah, you get the under with free
under.
juice.
Yeah, he'll get 3. He'll get 3 assists.
He's taking the exact 3 at 2-1. So you like any of those other ones? By the way, Andy Lang has been doing some NBA props. I do the NASCAR show with Andy, and he'll be doing the UFC live show this weekend again on Saturdays, which has been a huge moneymaker for the viewers. Andy's been doing some props. He told me yesterday, guys, after our NASCAR show, that the Greek under rebounds, points, and assists have been cashing left and right. So he was sad to see Milwaukee gone. course, when he only plays half a game, it really cashes. But the other one he mentioned, I believe, and I don't want to misquote anybody, he said P.J. Tucker overs. I think it was points, or maybe all 3-point rebounds, assists have been working well. So, Ski, when you mentioned Tucker with an over prop, that came to mind. So I know Andy would be on board with you on that one, Ski.
And I do have my last one I didn't mention was his rebound prop over 7.
So you could take the triple. Hey, how about this, Tony? Do you want the Tucker points, rebounds, and assists under 15.5? You're actually getting minus juice on that. It's minus 145 to the under.
Here's what I want. I want anything that Ski is on the other side of. That is what I want.
Ski, will you take over 15.5 points, rebounds, and assists with Tucker?
Let's do it.
All right. He's giving you a good number. It's actually plus 115 to the over, minus 145 under, Tony.
No favors now. No favors.
Oh, no, we're going to give you a couple favors. Teddy, anything jumping out to you?
No.
Teddy and I are kind of on the sidelines for all these in-game props. It's not our cup of tea, I think. Robbie, you want any takings on this one way or the other?
I will say, Steve, that the prior series, Eric Gordon was listed as 21.5, 22.5, and now tonight you give me 17.5 when he comes off of game 1 and game 2, where he scored 23 and 24 and shot it well. And last game just didn't shoot it well and only scored 10. So I would think 17.5 over for Eric Gordon in a game where I expect them to shoot more threes. Just to break down their 3-point shots real quick, guys, as a team, they shot 53, 39, and then 30. I think it went 39, 53, 30. So they've gotten close to 40 or above 40 twice. And then last game was just, to me, an outlier, more of a mirage than reality. So I would think Eric Gordon, 17.5, a guy that's been able to find his way to the free throw line a little bit in this series, would be a pretty good play.
Yeah, I don't have anything on the total. My free play, once again, is on the first half side. It's at Wager Talk right now. But, 5 of the last 6 Robs have gone under. Ski brought up a good point about the Rockets getting tired maybe. But if they want to play their style, they're going to have to push the pace, I think. And I think a lot of these over props could make sense tonight. Gordon, Harden, Westbrook. Those would be the 3 I look at just from a big picture perspective. Last couple minutes here. Let's go around, guys. Tell everybody what we have again. Teddy, you said you got some football best bets at Wager Talk and Sportsmemo for this weekend, right?
Yeah, I'm in action already on Friday's game.
That's right.
One of Friday's games over at Sportsmemo and WagerTalk.com. So we have a play up available for NBA. In addition, I've got college football and NFL selections.
Awesome.
Locked and loaded.
And, Rob, you've got a special tonight at WagerTalk.com, an $11 college football best bet, normally $25, getting less than half price, folks. $11 Thursday for Rob Vino.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. College football best bet for this evening. As I said earlier, I am going to put up tomorrow's NBA later on, at least one NBA for tomorrow. And as far as NFL football is concerned, I've had a 5% play up. Wager Talk asked me to be the $2 handicapper a couple months back, and I played an NFL 5%er. That's still up there now, so you can get that plus an additional best bet. NFL couple plays available right now, WagerTalk.com.
Awesome. And Tony, and you mentioned you're in action here in the Laker game. If someone's joining us late, they can go get your best bet for the Laker Rockets game at Wager Talk. You've been red hot overall in all sports. What else you got going on?
I have two baseball tonight. I really like them too. I left them as regular plays, but I do that more often than not. And I have football. I have my week 1 football already up for sale. It includes a 5%er as well.
And Tony hitting over 60% in recent years in football has just been a fantastic run in all sports. Ski, you're doing great in WNBA, as we've mentioned, and you have a WNBA best bet also. What else you got looking over the next couple of days?
I have 2 NFL games I'm looking at. I'll probably have them up either later today or early tomorrow, and I'll be in action on the NBA games shortly after we get
awesome. And once again, we're all at WagerTalk.com. Teddy covers also at SportsMemo.com. And myself, Steve Merrill, 5-0 all sports the last 2 nights in basketball and baseball. I've got 1 baseball best bet, and I'm 8-1, 89% of September. I've been picking my spots, but I feel like it's the final month of the season, and it is technically, I guess, but it's only like game 50, game 45 instead of game 150. But September's been good so far, 8-1, and I've got a slugfest over. I love these overs because hopefully they win early, and you can just go to bed and cash your ticket. But that's at WagerTalk.com. And I also, by the way, posted last night the Sunday night football game. I put up a 5% NFL best bet for that Sunday nighter. And everybody, don't forget to smash the like button, drop a comment. If you want to keep this show going, if you like this free content that we do every day, really important, subscribe to Wager Talk. We're getting closer now to 51,000 subscribers. hit the like button, add comments. We comment back. We all write back. We love the comments in the live chat. If you miss us in the live show at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific every day, then join us afterwards in the archive version and drop a comment in the comment section below. And once again, we are on YouTube afterwards each and every day. We'll be back tomorrow on Friday. We're going to have 2 games on Friday night, and then we'll take an advanced look at the Laker game as well for Saturday. So we're going to have a 3-game lineup for you tomorrow. And don't forget, I do have a free play tonight in the NBA game, and there's other free plays available as well. WagerTalk and SportsMemo, and then, of course, Best Bets at WagerTalk and SportsMemo as well. Guys, great show. We're back on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, for more NBA tip-off live here on WagerTalk TV. Good luck tonight.